My name is Eduardo Ortega. I'm just an ordinary man. Someone who once thought life was as simple as working, eating, and waiting for the next day. But now I know that none of it makes sense. Not after what I saw, after what I experienced. I lived in an old, neglected building, a place most people had abandoned years ago. The cracks in the walls, the endless echo in the empty hallways, and the dust that settled like a shroud over every surface gave the place a sense of absolute oblivion. Something about that forsakenness felt perfect to me. It was cheap, and nobody asked questions. I found it by accident. One night, while trying to fix an old faucet in my apartment's bathroom, I heard a metallic sound coming from the floor below. It struck me as odd, since no one was supposed to be down there. The basements had been sealed off for years, and access was, in theory, impossible. But curiosity got the better of me, and I decided to investigate. I grabbed a flashlight and went down the decaying stairs. The basement door was ajar, which was impossible. It had always been padlocked. Once inside, the space felt different. The walls were covered in carved marks, with symbols that seemed to shift. In the faint beam of my flashlight, a smell of mold, and something else. Something metallic and ancient jolted me. The place wasn't just a basement. There were old, stacked furniture and wooden crates filled with strange books. But what truly caught my attention was a section of the floor covered in a strange golden dust. Inspecting it closer, I realized it wasn't dust, but a symbol carved into the stone, like a seal forgotten by time. Resting on a nearby table was a book. I don't know what compelled me to open it. Perhaps the feeling that I was destined to. The pages were filled with indecipherable symbols in a language I didn't recognize, and they seemed to pulse beneath my fingers. But as I reached the center, something changed. The symbols began to move, rearranging themselves into words I could read. Nylokthar, the Devourer of Time. As I uttered the name, the symbol on the floor began to glow. The stone itself dissolved as if it were water, revealing a portal that throbbed with an indescribable energy. It was like looking into a constantly shifting, shattered mirror with fragments of light and darkness fighting to occupy the same space. An impossible void, a hole leading to the very edge of time. The shadows in the basement stretched out like tentacles, wrapping me in a cold embrace. An unseen force pushed me toward the portal, and before I could resist, I was no longer in the basement. That place was indescribable in human words. It was a void, yet full of motion. A space where time didn't flow, but collapsed in on itself in an endless cycle. Before me stood Nylokthar. Its figure began to manifest, first as a flicker of shapes, then as a formless, living mass that seemed to look right through me and beyond everything that exists. It's impossible to describe it completely. It was an amalgam of iridescent orbs, constantly changing color and shape, connected by dark tendrils that writhed with a life of their own. Between the orbs, giant eyes opened and closed, watching me from every possible angle. I felt each gaze pierce my soul, exposing every mistake, every thought, every fragment of my being. It didn't speak. It didn't need to. Like images projected into my mind, I saw entire eras born and die in an instant. I saw floating cities collapse into oceans of fire. I saw the rise and fall of empires so ancient they shouldn't exist even as myths. I saw humanity as a mere blink in the vast eternity of this being. I couldn't bear it. My body began to crumble, as if my very existence was being torn away piece by piece. I felt I was no longer Eduardo, that I never had been, that my life was just an illusion crafted by something greater. Something that used me as a pawn to unleash this entity. In a last-ditch effort, I tried to return. I don't know how, but somehow I was back in the basement. Everything was destroyed, reduced to rubble. The portal was gone, but the feeling of its presence remained, like an eternal echo. In that instant, I understood that there is no meaning to our lives, that we are little more than disposable pieces in a temporal game that was never ours to play. Now I know there is no escape. It doesn't matter how far I run, or how hard I try to forget. Nylokthar's eyes watch me from the shadows, reminding me that I am nothing but a fragment in its vast banquet. Maybe I'm no longer alive, or perhaps I'm trapped in some remnant of lost time. And you who are listening to my tale, understand this. Time is not linear. It is not ours. It is its domain, and in its grand design, we are merely particles caught in its endless flow. Now, all I know is that Nylokthar is still watching me, and I, powerless, await its return.
Subscribe and activate the bell so you don't miss the stories.